There is nothing. Only warm primordial blackness.
So Disco Elysium has always been a curiosity of mine. I've never known really what the game is, and I've never really heard someone explain it well enough to get me excited to play it. All I knew was it was amazing and it was a masterpiece. So the reason I want to make this video today is because I want to see if I can explain to you what Disco Elysium is and maybe get you to try it, because after having finished the game, I myself do have to agree that it is an absolute masterpiece.
Hey, if you don't want to have the most intense orgasm of your life, fine, don't!
Up front, I'd just like to give a spoiler warning. Not that there will be spoilers, but to talk about a game this complex and its very nature, I feel talking about its systems and what it is would be spoiler for someone who wants to go in completely blind. So just wanted to say that up front. Also, this is about the final cut, not the base game. And the final cut, to my understanding, adds fully voiced dialogue. So you don't really have to sit there and read everything, as the game has incredible voice acting to deliver its wonderful writing.
Show me what you got. What you got there? What you got, huh? Show me what you got.
The game Disco Elysium is developed and published by Zaum, and it's written and designed by Robert Kurvitz. The game takes place in a fictional city called Revachol, and it takes place in a district in the city of Martinez. The story starts off with you, a drunk, amnesiac RCM police officer.
I'm a cop, you idiot!
RCM just stands for Revachol Citizens Militia, and they're basically like a Peace Corps, but in this world, you're the police. You start off drunk and completely oblivious to what's going on. You don't know your name, you don't know what you're doing. You are trying to piece together your own identity as well as finish up a very complex murder case that you don't know anything about.
I don't know who I am!
You start in this room that you've thrashed and completely destroyed, and it shows a lot of your identity and what you're dealing with as an officer of the RCM.
She's realized you really are brain damaged.
Your very first mission in this game is literally to find your missing shoe that you've chucked through a window because you were drunk and angry and pissed off. And you have to find your shoe. And your body is talking to you, and it's telling you about your own environment. It's telling you how your mouth tastes after a hangover. Your tie is yelling at you.
This is bad mojo, man!
Your clothes are literally speaking to you just as much as your mind and your body are conveying information, which is why Disco Elysium is so wonderful. Because you're not just getting sensory information about your environment that is conveyed through visual data, like a lot of games. You're getting emotional data. You're getting mental data. Your body is literally communicating to you through 24 different stats. And these things can range from empathy, they can range to your composure, to your physical strength, they can be your encyclopedic knowledge of the world that you exist in. And that's just some of these stats. You also have a partner in this game, Kim Kitsuragi, who is wonderful. He is pretty much by your side regardless of if you play as a complete corrupt, just wash-up drunk, or if you become a superstar cop. Kim is by your side pretty much to the end. It's wonderful to hear his perspective of you and how you're tackling and handling this world.
You could probably make the jump. You look like you've done some track and field in your day.
No, that's still too high. You could have died there. Shit. I'm failing you. This wasn't part of our deal.
I got you, Bratan. Let me just adjust your breathing a little bit. There, isn't that better?
Hey, what's happening? You okay? It's okay. You're just having a little panic attack. Try to breathe as slowly as you can, alright?
Something that makes Disco Elysium so special to me is it's very human and deep dialogue. Your character says things that you probably want to say, and he also offers you dialogue options of things that you completely want to avoid. And the fun thing about this game is it offers insane replay value. Even just briefly starting a second playthrough, I played when I was intoxicated, and playing intoxicated, I chose things that I would have never chosen. It was hilarious, the responses that the characters were saying. It was as if it was incredibly self-aware. It was almost like the game knew that I was just being belligerent.
The words have already left your mouth.
What was that? That's not even how words are used. What did you say? Come on, say it again. No, you see, that's not what you said. You said... Come on, man. Pretty, please. One more time. Goddamn right you did. You crazy asshole, you.
So Disco Elysium also comes off like a political and a moral litmus test. As you play it, you get graded on what kind of a political stance you are, whether that be a communist.
A communist? I'm not a communist.
Or a fascist, or a moralist, or an ultra-liberal. It also has a personality litmus test. It'll tell you if you're a superstar cop, a boring cop, a sorry cop, one who's apologizing for pretty much everything that they're doing.
Sorry about that.
And an apocalypse cop, a cop who's probably paranoid of everything.
We're all gonna die.
So you start off your case by investigating a dead body who is hanging by a tree, and while the body is hanging from the tree, you are trying to keep yourself together while a 12-year-old little drug addict throws rocks at this dead body and curses at you.
Can't talk, pig. Shit's coming up strong. Throwing rocks.
Shit coming up strong.
And you're supposed to try to do a field autopsy and figure out what is going on with this body and why it is where it is. So ultimately you're trying to solve a murder. And as you're trying to solve the murder, you're interacting with all of the inhabitants of Revachol. As I stated, these characters are not shallow. They're fully realized with their own desires, their own intentions. And as you play the game, you have stat checks. Let's say you're high in empathy and the question needs you to understand where someone's coming from. If your empathy is low, you probably won't understand where that character is coming from. But if it's high, you'll collect more data that you weren't able to collect before, and he'll add it to your notebook that will tell you what you're supposed to be doing. You'll be gaining new information to further the case. You have tools at your disposal. You have things like a crowbar. You have cigarettes or alcohol, and you can use these things. Alcohol, for instance, you can drink it and become stronger, but your morale will take a hit. And this game doesn't have combat, so it's one of those things, most of the damage that you take as a character happens throughout these scenarios. So let's say, for instance, a check might need you to break down a door. But if you fail the check, obviously your shoulder gets hurt or your leg gets hurt and you'll take health damage. So you need to repair by doing, nasal sprays and different weird kind of health kits that aren't, your typical health kits. Morale, for instance, is healed through magnesium. Something wonderful about Disco Elysium is its visual style. It looks like a watercolor painting, like an expressionist painting. And I don't see a lot of games that can walk that line between beauty and grit. So what is Disco Elysium? Well, I would consider it a single-player tabletop game where you don't need other people to play it, but it's got deep systems of conversation, and where a game typically your loot might be new clothes, which or weapons in a traditional sense. In this game, loot is your thoughts and it's your ideas. And one of the ways that you can engage with the citizens of Martinaise is through something called a thought cabinet. As you are talking to people, you may realize an idea that you didn't know before, and you can internalize this idea and it becomes a stat. And it will offer different dialogue options. It'll offer a new understanding of the world that wasn't there before. And you can either keep these thoughts or you can use a skill point to forget about them. An example would be a character I encountered being extremely racist, and one of the ways that you could interact with this character is by internalizing his own racial ideas and then having a debate with him. And you can either continue to hold these thoughts yourself or you can forget about them. And there are tons of thoughts like this. So in the game there's an ongoing conflict between the union of Martinaise and the bourgeois.
I'm rich, bitch!
And there are other workers who want to come in and fill these positions for less money, essentially lowballing the workers who are on strike. One of the ways you can make money in the game is through pawning your stuff that you find. You can pawn stuff to the pawn shop. There's also a corner store called Friet, and you can buy cigarettes and booze, and you can buy like rain jackets, and you can buy like little corner store things. Something else that was wonderful about Disco Elysium was the side activities. One of these side quests consisted of ravers who wanted me to clear out a church who was inhabited by locals that they feared, and they wanted to get into this church for their own hidden agenda. But it becomes a much more complex side quest than I've typically experienced. It's more like if you took the complexity of The Witcher 3, but even fleshed out the dialogue and the intentions of the characters even more. Now, again, Disco Elysium doesn't have combat, so most of the meat of this game is through dialogue. And I know that that could probably run some people off, but I can't understate how well written the game is and how interested I was in learning about these characters. It really had me glued to what was going on. And through that writing, I realized just how lacking a lot of games really are. Ultimately, Disco Elysium impacted me deeply. I felt very connected to the characters. I felt very connected to the world. The music was wonderful. It was setting a great tone and a great mood. I felt connected to spaces through the music. Kind of similarly the way that if you play like a Zelda game like Ocarina of Time, the music is a big chunk of what makes those areas feel so special. And Disco Elysium has a great soundtrack by British Sea Power, and that is one of the things that elevates the game. It's wonderful. Disco Elysium is very dual. It has the human experience at its core and the duality of everything, whether that be the balance between good and bad or corrupt and just. And as you're playing the game, you yourself are able to flesh out your own personality, and you're really able to flex your mind as the game doesn't really hold back in what it allows you to say and how the characters react to what you're saying. Anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on Disco Elysium. This isn't really a review. It's more of just giving my general thoughts after a playthrough with it. And I can highly recommend this game to you if you're looking for something new, if you're looking for something to make you feel something. Anyways, guys, I highly recommend Disco Elysium. Let me know your questions, thoughts, concerns, comments, anything you want to say, let me know. Anyways, guys, I'm Gurnico. I'll see you on the flip side.
No, none of this matters at all.